there's a bridge at Strasbourg on the border of Germany and France that is very similar to a lot of the stuff you see in Brussels and here in Ghent. But Nancy and I just love it. We just walk around with a camera and do a lot all the time. So I want to thank you guys for having me here, because just the architecture alone has been thrilling, let alone the beer. And the girls on bicycles. Man, you guys, you boys, don't tell anybody. This town is beautiful, isn't it? Amazing. Okay, I think I saw like 10 girls the other day in an hour that looked like Liv Tyler on bicycles. I think there's like a Liv Tyler DNA here in Ghent. A lot of girls look like they just rode their bike off the set of Lord of the Rings. Okay, any other questions? Yeah?
Were you surprised that you saw the Tarantino movie Kill Bill and they used your line?
No, but he's asking about my line from, I did a Toby Hooper movie very early in my career. It's my first horror movie. I had a very filthy line that I start the movie with, which I can't repeat because it may be kids. But let's put it this way. My name was Buck, and the word rhymes with Buck. Anyway, I went up for Kill Bill. I was up with the order that pimps the comatose Uma Thurman. And I went up for this part, and they brought us, I hardly ever wait, and I hardly ever read for roles anymore. But I had to read for this part, and it was Tarantino. He asked for me, and I showed up. There were a lot of good actors up for the part, and it wasn't that big of a part. And I got him and drove all the way up to LA, and it was in this martial arts studio, gymnasium. The audition, and we were an old couch, they were all sitting on the couch. David Carradine, Kung Fu was there. And about 10 feet away, in their broad panties, was Uma Thurman, Lucy Liu, and Daryl Hannah from Blade Runner. All of them in bras and panties and wires, and rigged with wires. And of course, doing their Kung Fu fighting. All of their flying and practicing, and so we're just sitting there like, the guys are all sitting there like, or I should say, and watching this. Kid was like hours and hours, because Quentin had to go on the phone and talk to his Hong Kong directors, his martial arts guys, long distance to China. And that was the only time he could talk to them. So we waited for hours and hours. We didn't mind that much because we had Lucy Liu making 15 feet away. Uma Thurman, in her bra. So we didn't mind that much, but I mean, after all, it was 4 hours, at least, we were getting a little fed up, even though it was the great Quentin Tarantino. So when I got called in the office to read, Quentin tells me for another half hour how much he loves me. I don't know, if you love me that much, why don't you give me the part? But it was a handball court, the office. It wasn't a real office. So the lighting was crap. So I put on my reading glasses. I'm getting old now. I need reading glasses because I couldn't read the script. Normally, I just kind of look at the script like this and then act really cool. But because of the light, I couldn't glance down. So I put my reading glasses on and I wear them like this. And immediately, I look like a little old man. And I think that's how I lost the part. I also did it very, very redneck, very, very white trash, very, very southern, and I don't think Quentin wanted that. He was looking for something else, more like almost like a psycho used car salesman, which was not the tact I took. But anyway, still, out of love, he used my line, my opening line, from my Toby Hooper movie, which has more titles than I care to admit. I think when I did it, it was called Eaten Alive. But it's called Starlight Massacre, Starlight Motel Massacre. It has a million names. In fact, in the Japanese version, there's literally a pornographic sequence. And people think it's my private parts in it, but it's not. This is some Japanese guy. Anyway, that's not me. So if you see the Japanese DVDs, it's not me. More questions? Any more questions? I can't get any more intimate than that. Yes, you have a lot of questions. What?
What about the slasher film? You were one of the icons in the 80s, and the slasher genre was very popular then. But do you think it was able to be resurrected?
Well, I think horror is universal now. Horror movies are they're cowboy movies were in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. They're real go-to genre now. A couple of genres are dying out. The Western died out, with the exception of 310 to Yuma. Romantic comedy is almost completely dead now. They keep making them, but nobody goes to see them. And you got to really like Drew Barrymore and Hugh Grant. And I do, but they're just not, nobody seems to be going. But that corner just got turned in America. We have a great new romantic comedy for the young generation now called Knocked Up. And Knocked Up really addresses sort of romance of people in their 20s and where they're at now. So that maybe they can start making romantic comedies for a younger generation finally. But the horror movie just keeps evolving. And I think what you're referring to a little bit here is, in recent years we've had the Saw films, the Final Destination, we've had, the Eli Roth films, Cabin Fever, Hostel. And I think the journalists kind of conveniently came up with this porn torture phrase to describe them. But I think what those movies truly are is they're like punk rock. They're garage band. They're a reaction to all the movies of a couple of years before that, in the late 90s, that were overburdened with special effects, but didn't tell the story very well, or didn't come through with the scares. I mean, I remember I walked out of Armageddon. That movie just got so silly for me, and I have friends in that movie, but it just got sillier. And I'm easy. I love Transformers. I can go to a big special effects movie and have a great time. I'm not a snob, but there was a couple of movies in the late 90s, millennium, that were just so full of special effects. They were using, I don't know what we do here. We're fixing CGI. And you can tell they just put more and more special effects, but they lost the scariness. There's a couple of vampire movies that didn't work for me. I don't want to mention any names, because I love sequences of them, and I love Kate Beckinsale. Oops! But there were a couple of vampire movies that just didn't scare me. They just didn't get there, There was something wrong with the storytelling. I think the last one I really liked was Blade 2, the Guillermo del Toro, which I really thought was a terrific film. It was just, and I love vampire movies. I always go to them. I pay my money because I like it. But there was some with so many special effects, but they just didn't scare you or creep you out. They weren't really sexy, I can be flipping around late night and find an old Hammer film.